The Galactic Council chamber hung in the void like a monument to power. It orbited a neutron star, and the walls gleamed with light from 1,000 worlds. Inside the Great Hall, representatives from dozens of species gathered around a circular platform. Today, they would decide the fate of humanity. Ambassador of the Empire stood at the center. His scales caught the light as he moved, and his voice echoed through the chamber. "Honored council members, I bring evidence of human aggression." He touched a control, and images appeared in the air above them. The hologram showed human colony ships near a cluster of asteroids. The rocks were rich with rare minerals, valuable beyond measure. "These humans refuse to leave disputed territory," said. "They ignore our rightful claims. They mock our authority." Around the circle, alien heads nodded. Some whispered to their aides. Others made notes on their devices. Supreme Thanemore, an ancient being whose species had ruled the council for centuries, leaned forward. "How long have humans been part of our galactic community?" 80 years, Supreme answered. "A mere moment in galactic time, yet they act as if they own the stars." Thanemore's expression showed contempt. "They are young, foolish, they must learn their place." He looked around the chamber. "I propose we authorize the Empire to remove the human presence from the disputed zone, by force if necessary." The vote took only minutes. Nearly every species agreed. Only a few abstained, too afraid to speak against the Council's will. Among them sat Jin, ambassador of the peaceful people. She said nothing, but her recording device captured everything. Something about this felt wrong. Far from the council chamber, the colony ship Spirit of Liberty drifted among the asteroids. Captain Daniel Hayes stood on the bridge, watching his crew work. Below them, 3,000 colonists lived in the ship. Families, children, elderly people seeking a new home. They had come here legally, filed all the proper claims, and started mining operations 6 months ago. Lieutenant Kate looked up from her station. "Captain, I'm getting unusual energy signatures, multiple contacts approaching fast." Hayes moved to her side. "How many?" 20 ships, sir. Military configuration." Kate's voice stayed calm, but her hands moved quickly across her console. "They're not responding to our hails." "Keep trying." Hayes turned to his communications officer. "Peter, send a message to the fleet commander. Tell them we want to talk." Peter Grant nodded and worked his controls. A moment later, a face appeared on the main screen. Commander Vex stared at them with cold eyes. "Human vessel, you have 2 hours to evacuate this sector. This is not a negotiation." Hayes kept his voice steady. "Commander, we have civilians aboard, families with children. We need more time to evacuate safely. Or better yet, let us share these resources. There's enough for everyone." Vex's expression never changed. 2 hours, not 1 minute more." The screen went dark. Kate looked at her captain. "Sir, we can't evacuate everyone in 2 hours. The shuttle bay can't handle that many people that fast. Some of our colonists are elderly, some are sick. We have infants in the nursery." Hayes knew she was right. He had designed evacuation procedures himself. Even in perfect conditions, they needed at least 6 hours to get everyone off safely. "Send another message," he ordered Peter. "Explain the situation, request more time." Peter tried, no response came. The ships moved closer, forming an attack formation. Hayes made his decision. "Send a distress signal to Earth, full emergency broadcast, tell them what's happening here." He looked at his crew. "Everyone to your stations, raise shields, this might get rough." The Spirit of Liberty's defensive shields came online. They were never meant for combat. The ship was a colony vessel designed to carry people and cargo, not to fight wars. But they were all the protection the colonists had. 1 hour and 58 minutes later, Vex's voice came over the speakers. "Your time is up, humans." Hayes grabbed the microphone. "We need more time. We have children aboard." "Then you should have left when I told you to." Vex cut the connection. The first missile struck the Spirit of Liberty's shields. They held for 3 seconds, then collapsed. The second missile hit the residential section directly. Atmosphere vented into space. Alarms screamed throughout the ship. People screamed louder. Kate checked her board, her face pale. "Hull breach on decks 4 through 7. We've lost life support in the residential areas. Captain, there were 47 people in that section." Hayes felt something break inside him, but his voice stayed steady. "Get everyone to the escape pods. Now." "Peter, did our distress signal get through?" "Yes, sir, Earth received it, but they're 3 weeks away even at maximum speed." Peter's hands shook as he worked. Sir, they're firing again. The second volley destroyed their communications array. Now they were alone, cut off, dying. All hands abandon ship, Hayes ordered. Kate, coordinate the evacuation. Get those people off my ship. Kate stood. Sir, you need to come too. Someone has to pilot us away from the colony. Buy you time. Hayes smiled, though it hurt. Go, Lieutenant, that's an order. Kate ran. Throughout the ship, crew members herded colonists toward the escape pods. Parents carried children. Neighbors helped the elderly. Some people were already dead, killed in the first attack. Others were injured, bleeding, crying for help. The pods launched one by one, shooting away from the dying ship. Kate watched from her pod as the Spirit of Liberty turned, putting itself between the escape pods and the fleet. Captain Hayes was still aboard, still fighting to save his people. Then Vex gave his next order. Several escape pods vanished in flashes of light. They were firing on unarmed lifeboats, killing survivors, making sure there would be few witnesses to their crime. Kate's pod tumbled through space, its emergency beacon screaming into the void. Through the window, she saw the Spirit of Liberty explode. Captain Hayes died instantly, vaporized in the blast. Around her, other pods drifted, some intact, many destroyed. Out of 3,000 colonists and crew, only about 2,000 remained alive. The ship swept the area one more time, then turned and left. They had won. They had taught the humans a lesson. Back in the council chamber, presented his report. The operation was successful, supreme. The human presence has been removed from the disputed zone. Minimal casualties. Thanemore nodded with satisfaction. Excellent. Let this be a lesson to all young species. The Council's will is absolute. He looked around the chamber. I hereby declare the former human territories open for development. Any species may claim them. The council session ended. The members departed, pleased with themselves. They had maintained order. They had shown strength. They believed the human problem was solved. Jin of the people left quietly. In her private chamber, she reviewed the recordings she had made. Something terrible had just happened. She could feel it in her bones. The council had made a grave mistake, but she did not yet understand how grave. On Earth, in the Defense Command Center, Admiral Christopher Wells stood before a wall of screens. He had just finished watching the recovered black box footage from the Spirit of Liberty. He had seen Daniel Hayes's final moments, heard his last words as the ship died around him. Tell them we tried. The door opened. Defense Secretary Parker entered, her expression carved from stone. Wells knew that look. He had seen it before in mirrors after battles that changed everything. Admiral, Parker said quietly, the President has made his decision. Wells waited. Protocol Midnight is authorized. Show them why Earth survived the old wars. Wells looked back at the screens. On them, footage played on loop, the Spirit of Liberty exploding, escape pods being destroyed, children dying in the cold of space. He thought about the 60 years of peace humanity had enjoyed, 60 years since the last time Earth went to war. Humanity had not fought because they had forgotten how. They had not fought because they had chosen not to remember what they were capable of. That time was over. Yes, ma'am, Wells said. I'll recall the fleets. Parker nodded and left. Wells stood alone in the command center, surrounded by screens and data and death. Above Earth, hidden in the darkness of space, massive ships began to wake from decades of sleep. Vessels humanity had built during their darkest days, then locked away when peace came. The Reaper-class warships were moving again, and the galaxy had no idea what was coming. Outside the command center, technicians prepared for deployment. Pilots checked their fighters. Engineers loaded weapons that had not been fired in 60 years. And in 1,000 homes across Earth, families watched the news and wept for the dead. Kate's pod was recovered 3 days later. She and the other survivors were brought to Earth. They were checked by doctors, given food and rest. But Kate could not sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Captain Hayes. She saw the children who had been on her ship. She saw the flash of weapons fire destroying unarmed escape pods. When Admiral Wells came to see her, she was standing at a window looking up at the stars. Lieutenant, Wells said, I'm sorry for your loss. Kate turned. Sir, permission to speak freely. Granted. Are we going to make them pay for what they did? Wells looked at her for a long moment. Yes, Lieutenant, we are, and I'm offering you a chance to be part of it. I need good officers, people who understand what we're fighting for. Kate nodded slowly. When do we leave? 2 days, report to the Vengeance. Captain Clark is expecting you. Victoria stood before the cameras in the White House. The entire world watched. So did millions of aliens across the galaxy, curious to see how humanity would respond to their defeat. They expected tears, apologies, perhaps surrender. They got none of those things. His voice was calm, cold, precise. 847 humans died 3 days ago. The Empire murdered them without warning, without mercy. They destroyed escape pods carrying children. They killed the elderly. They fired on unarmed civilians. She paused. I will now read their names, all of them. For the next 20 minutes read, every name, every age. When she reached the children, her voice never wavered. The galaxy listened to name after name. 5-year-old Sophie, 8-year-old Jacob, a 3-month-old infant named Emma. When she finished, looked directly into the camera. We asked for peace. They gave us death. Now they will learn what humanity really is. She stood. As of this moment, Earth is recalling all diplomatic staff from Council space. We are activating our defense pacts with allied species, and we are authorizing our military to respond with full force. The transmission ended. Around Earth, massive ships began moving from their hidden berths. Humanity's war machine was waking up. In the Fleet Command Center, Admiral Christopher Wells addressed his captains. 200 faces looked back at him from screens, each one commanding a warship. These were Earth's best officers, veterans of the peacekeeping missions and anti-piracy patrols that had kept humanity busy for 60 years. But the ships behind them were different, newer, darker. Captains, you're about to take command of vessels the Council has never seen, the Reaper-class warships. Wells touched a control and schematics appeared. These ships were designed during Earth's civil wars. We built them to fight ourselves, to survive the worst humanity could do to humanity. When peace came, we sealed them away. We hoped we would never need them again. Captain Clark, commander of the flagship Vengeance, studied the designs. The ships were beautiful in a terrible way. Every line, every system built for one purpose, to destroy. These vessels carry weapons technology the Council has never encountered, Wells continued. Rail guns that accelerate projectiles to near-light speed, plasma lances using contained fusion reactions, electronic warfare suites that can hack any known system, and they're fast, faster than anything they have. Another captain spoke up. Admiral, what about Council treaties? Most of these weapons are banned under galactic law. Wells smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Humanity never signed those treaties. The Council insisted we were too primitive to need them. That decision is about to cost them everything. He looked at each captain in turn. Remember, we fight to protect, not to conquer. Our enemy is the military and those who ordered the attack. Spare civilians when possible, but show no mercy to those who showed none to our children. The captains understood. They had all seen the footage. They had all read the names. Launch in 6 hours, Wells said. Captain Clark, you have tactical command. Make them remember why Earth survived. The screen went dark. Clark turned to his crew. In the corner of the bridge stood Lieutenant Kate, fresh from the spirit of liberty. Her uniform was new, but her eyes were old. She had seen things no one should see. Lieutenant, Clark said, you're my tactical officer now. Think you can handle it? Kate's jaw set. Yes, sir, I can handle it. Across the galaxy, in the capital city of the Empire, celebrations filled the streets. Commander Vex had returned as a hero. Ambassador hosted a massive party in the Imperial Palace. Nobles drank and laughed and boasted about teaching the humans their place. Emperor himself awarded Vex a medal. You have shown these prey species the power of the Empire, the Emperor declared. Soon we will claim their territories. Their resources will be ours. In the corner of the throne room, intelligence officer tried to get someone's attention. She had data, important data. Strange energy readings were coming from human space. Massive power signatures moving fast toward territory. But no one would listen. They were too busy celebrating. Finally, she cornered. Ambassador, we need to discuss the sensor readings. Something is wrong. Waved her away. Nothing is wrong. The humans are beat. They're probably running back to their little planet to hide. Sir, these readings suggest otherwise. Whatever is coming, it's big, and it's coming fast. Your sensors are malfunctioning. The humans are a prey species, weak, pathetic. They have nothing that can threaten us. Returned to his drink. Stood alone with her data, knowing something terrible was coming. But in an empire built on arrogance, no one wanted to hear the truth. At the border, patrol ship dominance drifted through space. Commander was bored. Border patrol was the worst assignment in the fleet. Nothing ever happened out here, just empty space and the occasional asteroid. Then his sensors officer shouted, "Commander, multiple contacts, they just appeared on our screens." Looked at his display, 20 contacts, 30, 50, more appearing every second. What are they? Unknown configuration, sir. I've never seen anything like them. Power readings are off the scale. Before could respond, his communications panel lit up. A message was broadcasting on all frequencies. A human face appeared. The human's expression was cold as ice. "This is Captain Clark of Earth Defense Forces. You are looking at the human response to your massacre of the Spirit of Liberty. We sent you diplomats. You sent back corpses. We asked for peace. You gave us war." Tried to speak, but Clark continued. "You killed 847 humans, men, women, children, elderly. You destroyed escape pods, you murdered civilians, and your council sanctioned it." Clark leaned forward. "You wanted to know what humanity is? Let me show you. We are the species that survived 10,000 years of killing each other. We learned to fight before we learned to farm. We perfected war before we discovered peace. And you just reminded us why we were good at it." Around Clark's ship, the human fleet, 200 vessels, each one bristling with weapons. They had never seen ships like these. The designs were alien, aggressive, built for pure combat. Found his voice. "This is Border Patrol. You are in violation of territorial space. Withdraw immediately or we will open fire." Clark's expression never changed. "No, you will withdraw. You have 1 minute to turn your ships around and run. After that, we will remove you." Laughed. "You think 40 patrol ships fear 200 human vessels. We fear nothing." He opened a channel to his fleet. "All ships attack formation, destroy these primitives." Clark sighed. 58 seconds, you had your chance." He closed the channel and looked at Kate. "Lieutenant, you have tactical. Show them what we learned in the old wars." Kate's fingers moved across her console. "All ships, weapons free, fire at will." The human fleet opened fire. The expected energy beams, maybe missiles. They got something far worse. Railguns fired first, hurling projectiles at a fraction of light speed. The projectiles hit shields and punched through them like paper. Ships exploded, their hulls unable to handle the kinetic impact. Plasma lances followed, beams of contained fusion fire that burned hotter than most stars. Where they touched vessels, metal vaporized. Atmosphere ignited. Crews died before they could scream. The electronic warfare began simultaneously. Human systems hacked into computers, turning weapons offline, disabling shields, shutting down engines. Ships drifted helpless while human guns found them. The battle lasted 8 minutes. 40 ships became expanding clouds of debris. Not one human vessel took damage. The weapons could not penetrate human shields, could not track human ships moving at speeds that should have been impossible. Clark let one ship escape. Just one. Commander's vessel, its weapons destroyed, its engines barely functional. He broadcast one final message. "This is your only warning. Leave human space. Abandon all occupied territories, or every world will burn. You have 3 days to comply." The damaged ship jumped to hyperspace, running home with its tale of terror. On Earth, the Galactic Council called an emergency session. They had received report. Ambassador Jinnov presented sensor data from the battle. The council members stared at the numbers in disbelief. "This cannot be accurate," Thanemore said. "These power readings are impossible. The humans are a primitive species. They've only been spacefaring for 80 years. Jin shook her head. "Supreme, I have this data 3 times. It is accurate. The human vessels are more advanced than anything in council space. Their weapons output exceeds our most powerful warships by orders of magnitude." This is propaganda. Human lies to frighten us. "Then explain the destruction of 40 ships in 8 minutes, Jin countered. She displayed footage from the battle. The council watched in silence as human weapons tore through defenses. "Supreme, I believe we have made a terrible mistake. The humans were not weak. They were being peaceful. There is a difference." One of the minor ambassadors, Senway of the, spoke quietly. "My people have a saying. The most dangerous enemies are those who choose not to fight, because when they finally do, they have been holding back for a reason." Thanemore slammed his hand on the table. "The Council will not be intimidated by one battle. I vote to support the Empire in their rightful defense against human aggression." The vote was close. Many species voted yes, too afraid to change course. Some abstained. A few voted no. Jin was among them. "I will not support genocide," she said simply. "We sanctioned the murder of children and called it justice. Now we condemn those who seek justice for their dead. This is wrong." The vote passed anyway. The council officially supported, but several species quietly began withdrawing their citizens from space. They had seen the sensor data. They knew what was coming. On the Vengeance, Kate sat in her quarters. She held a data pad with photos. Captain Daniel Hayes smiling on the bridge. The children from the Spirit of Liberty playing in the recreation room, all dead now. All because the galaxy thought humanity was weak. A knock came at her door. "Enter." Admiral Wells stepped inside. "Lieutenant, I wanted to check on you. This is your first combat mission since the Spirit of Liberty." Kate set down the pad. "I'm fine, sir. Better than fine. We destroyed 40 enemy ships without losing a single person. That's what Captain Hayes would have wanted, justice, not more death." Wells nodded. "They have 3 days to comply with our demands. If they don't, we move deeper into their territory. It's going to get worse before it gets better." "Good," Kate said quietly. "Let them learn what it feels like. Let them know fear." Wells studied her. "Be careful, Lieutenant. Revenge is a poison. It kills what it touches. We fight for justice, not vengeance." "Is there a difference, sir?" "Yes, justice knows when to stop. Vengeance never does." Wells moved to the door, then paused. "Your captain died trying to make peace. Honor his memory by being better than the enemy, not by becoming like them." After he left, Kate looked back at the photos. She knew Wells was right, but she also knew that Captain Hayes and 846 others deserved justice. And if justice came with fire and fury, then so be it. In space, Emperor convened his war council. Intelligence officer presented her complete analysis. The room fell silent as they realized the truth. Humanity was not a prey species. They were predators, and the Empire had just challenged them to a fight. "How do we respond?" the Emperor asked. Grand Admiral Lex stood. "We assemble the full might of our fleet, 2,000 ships, the largest armada in history. We crush them with overwhelming numbers." Tried one more time. "Your Majesty, I must advise against this. The humans destroyed 40 ships in 8 minutes without taking damage. Our technology is not equal to theirs. We should negotiate." "Negotiate?" Lex laughed. "With prey, never. The Empire does not bow to inferiors." The Emperor made his decision. "Assemble the Armada. We will show these humans the true power of a galactic empire, and this time we will not stop until their home world is ash." The war fleet assembled in orbit above their capital world. 2,000 warships, the pride of their empire. Emperor watched from his palace as the ships prepared to launch. He believed this would be the end of the human problem. One massive strike, and the upstart species would be crushed forever. Grand Admiral Lex stood on the bridge of his flagship, Pride of. Around him, his officers prepared for battle. They checked weapons, confirmed targeting systems, reviewed battle plans. Everyone except intelligence officer seemed confident. She kept running the numbers from the first battle. No matter how she looked at the data, it did not make sense. The human ships moved too fast. Their weapons hit too hard. Their shields absorbed damage that should have been impossible. Something was wrong, but she could not figure out what. "Admiral," she said carefully, "I recommend we proceed with caution. The human capabilities exceed our predictions." Lex did not even look at her. "We have 2,000 ships. They have 200. Numbers win wars, officer. Basic mathematics." "But, sir, their technology is superior. Quality matters as much as quantity." "Enough," Lex glared at her. "I will not have cowardice on my bridge. The humans are prey. We are predators. That is all that matters." Fell silent. She had tried. If the Admiral would not listen, then he would learn the hard way. The Armada launched. 2,000 ships moving in formation, heading toward human space. The plan was simple: overwhelm the human fleet with numbers, then proceed to Earth itself. Show them that resistance was futile. Deep in space, a small human ship detected them. Commander George commanded the reconnaissance vessel Shadow. His sensors tracked the massive fleet, counting ships, analyzing formations. When he had all the data, he transmitted it to Admiral Wells. On Earth, Wells studied the report with Fleet Intelligence Officer Stone. 2,000 ships, Stone said. That's their entire mobile fleet. They're betting everything on this attack. Wells nodded slowly. Then it's time to show them what we've really been hiding. Activate the Guardian fleet. Stone hesitated. Sir, are you sure those ships were meant to be a last resort? 847 dead civilians. They made this a fight to the finish. We'll give them one. Wells looked at the star map. Contact Fleet Captain Jacob Warren. Tell him to bring the Guardians online. Far from Earth, in a region of space empty on every map, 30 massive vessels began to wake. The Guardian-class ships had been sleeping for 60 years, built during humanity's darkest era, designed to defend Earth against extinction itself. Each ship measured 5 kilometers long, armed with weapons that bent the laws of physics. Captain Foster walked onto the bridge of her ship, Eternal Vigil. Around her, systems came online one by one. Lights flickered to life. Engines began their deep thrumming. Weapons charged, their power building. All systems operational, her executive officer reported. We're ready, Captain. Foster looked at the other Guardian ships on her screen. 30 vessels, each capable of destroying a small fleet by itself. Inform Admiral Wells that the Guardian fleet is ready for deployment. The human fleet moved to intercept the. Captain Clark commanded the strike force from the Vengeance. Lieutenant Kate stood at the tactical station, her hands steady on the controls. She had waited for this moment. The who killed Captain Hayes and the others were coming, and humanity was ready. Lieutenant, Clark said quietly, how are you feeling? Kate checked her displays. Focused, sir. The enemy is approximately 2 hours out. Recommend we engage at maximum range. Agreed. Clark opened a fleet-wide channel. All ships' battle stations will show the what happens when you wake sleeping wolves. The two fleets approached each other across the void. On the side, confidence filled every ship. They had numbers, they had momentum, they had history. The Empire had never lost a war. On the human side, cold determination filled every heart. They remembered the spirit of liberty. They remembered the children. They remembered that they came from a planet where everything tried to kill them, and they had survived anyway. The fleets met at the edge of space. Lex opened communications. Human vessels, you are outnumbered 10-1. Surrender now and we will make your deaths quick. Clark's response was quiet. Grand Admiral, we gave you a chance to withdraw. You chose war. Now live with your choice, or rather try to live with it. Behind the human fleet, space rippled. 30 massive shapes emerged from hyperspace. The Guardian-class vessels appeared like ancient gods of war, each one larger than 10 ships combined. Their power signatures made sensors scream warnings. Lex stared at his screens in disbelief. What are those? Checked her instruments, her face pale. Admiral, those power readings are impossible. Each of those ships outputs more energy than our entire fleet combined. That cannot be real. Your sensors are malfunctioning. All sensors show the same readings, sir. This is real. Lex swallowed hard. For the first time, doubt crept into his thoughts, but he had 2,000 ships. The Emperor expected victory. He could not retreat now. All ships attack formation. Target the human vessels. Fire at will. The fleet opened fire. 2,000 ships unleashed their weapons. Energy beams filled the void. Missiles by the thousands streaked toward human positions. It was the most firepower the Empire had ever deployed in a single battle. The human ships took the hits. Their shields flared, absorbing the damage. A few shields failed. Several human ships took hull damage, but not one exploded. Not one died. The assault, powerful enough to destroy a planet, merely scratched the human fleet. Then the humans fired back. The Guardian ships activated their primary weapons. Point singularity cannons charged, building up energy from miniature black holes contained in their cores. When they fired, space itself tore open. The beams did not just destroy ships. They erased them. Matter simply ceased to exist where the beams passed. 10 capital ships vanished in the first volley, just gone as if they had never been. No explosions, no debris, just empty space where warships had been moments before. The fleet broke formation in shock. Lex stared at his screens, unable to process what he was seeing. What are those weapons? His voice shook. They're tearing holes in space-time, sir. Those ships can manipulate gravity itself. This is technology we cannot match. The smaller human ships pressed the attack. Rail guns fired, their projectiles moving so fast they appeared as streaks of light. Each hit destroyed a vessel. Plasma lances swept across enemy formations, melting armor like wax. But the humans were precise. Weapons targeted engines, leaving life support intact. When ships surrendered, human fire ceased immediately. Captain Clark's orders were clear: destroy the military threat but spare those who yielded. Lieutenant Cole led fighter squadrons through the chaos. His pilots moved with impossible coordination, as if they shared one mind. They disabled ships with surgical strikes, taking out weapons and propulsion while leaving crews alive. Engineer Sarah sat at her station, fingers flying across her keyboard. She hacked into networks, turning their own systems against them. Weapons went offline. Shields failed. Ships lost power at critical moments. They found themselves fighting blind, their technology betraying them. On the Pride of alarms screamed. Ship after ship vanished from Lex's tactical display. His mighty armada was being torn apart. In 20 minutes, 500 ships were destroyed or disabled. The rest were scattered, their formation broken, their confidence shattered. All ships retreat, Lex ordered. Fall back to defensive positions. But the humans were faster. They cut off escape routes, herding the fleet into a kill zone. Guardian ships moved with grace that their size, positioning themselves to block every avenue of retreat. Clark's voice came over the open channel. Grand Admiral, this is your last chance. Order your fleet to stand down. Surrender your weapons, or we will destroy every ship you have. Lex looked around his bridge. His officers stared back at him, fear in their eyes. Outside, his fleet was dying. He had started with 2,000 ships. Now he had less than 1,000 combat effective, and the humans had barely taken damage. "What are you?" Lex whispered. Kate heard the question. She keyed her microphone. "We are the species you called prey. We are the children of Earth, a world that tried to kill us for 100,000 years. We learned to survive by being stronger, faster, smarter than everything that hunted us. And when we finally reached the stars, we chose peace. We chose kindness. We chose mercy." Her voice hardened. "You made us remember what we were before we made those choices. This is what humanity looks like when we stop being gentle." Silence filled the void. Then Lex gave the order. "All ships cease fire, power down weapons, we surrender." The battle ended. The greatest fleet in history surrendered to a force 1/10 its size. Human ships moved through the debris field, rescuing survivors, treating wounded. Medical teams beamed over to damaged vessels. Dr. Helen led the medical efforts. She and her teams treated wounded without hesitation, using human technology to save lives that would otherwise be lost. Soldiers, expecting execution, instead received medical care. One young soldier, his leg crushed in the battle, stared at Helen as she worked. "Why?" he asked. "Why help us? We killed your people." Helen looked at him. "Because you're not the ones who gave the order. You're just a soldier following commands. And because we're not you. We fight warriors, not wounded. We kill when we must, but we heal when we can." On the Pride of, Kate boarded with a security team. They found Lex on his bridge, staring at the tactical displays showing his destroyed fleet. He looked up as Kate approached. "I suppose you've come to execute me," he said. Kate shook her head. "No, you're going to stand trial for war crimes, you and everyone else who ordered the attack on the spirit of liberty. You'll face justice in a court, not in space." Lex laughed bitterly. "Justice from prey species." "We're not prey," Kate said quietly. "We never were. We were predators who chose to stop hunting. But you made us remember. You made us pull out the claws we had filed down. You made us bear the teeth we had hidden." She leaned close. "And now you know what humanity really is. We're the species that survived when the whole universe tried to kill us. We're the children of a death world, and we will never be prey again." She straightened. "Take him to the brig. Keep him comfortable. He'll stand trial like a civilized being, even if he doesn't deserve it." As the security team led Lex away, Kate looked out at the debris field. 1,000 ships destroyed or disabled. Thousands of soldiers dead, all because their leaders thought humans were weak. Captain Clark appeared beside her, thinking about Captain Hayes. "Yes, sir," wondering if he would approve of this. "He died trying to make peace. We've won a battle, but we're showing mercy to the survivors. I think he would approve." Clark put a hand on her shoulder. "You did good today, Lieutenant. Your captain would be proud." Kate nodded, not trusting herself to speak. Around them, human ships began the long work of securing prisoners, recovering survivors, and documenting the battle. The Empire had learned a terrible lesson, but the question remained, would the rest of the galaxy learn it too? In the Galactic Council chamber, emergency session after emergency session convened. News of the battle spread across the galaxy. The species who had voted to support now faced a difficult truth. They had backed the wrong side, and humanity had not just won. They had demonstrated power that changed everything. Ambassador Jin stood before the council. I tried to warn you. I told you we had made a mistake. Now 1,000 ships are gone and thousands of soldiers are dead, and the humans are not done. They are offering terms, yes, but if those terms are refused, they will march to the home world itself. Thane Moore's confidence had vanished. What are their terms 3 months past? The Empire, once proud and arrogant, now followed every condition humanity demanded. They had withdrawn from human territories. They paid reparations to the families of those killed on the spirit of liberty. And now, war crimes trials were beginning. The tribunal took place on neutral ground, a space station operated by the people. Ambassador Jin had volunteered her species to host the proceedings. She believed the galaxy needed to see justice done properly. Commander Vex stood in the defendant's chamber. The officer who had ordered the attack on the spirit of liberty looked smaller now, his confidence gone. Around him, other officers waited their turn. All of them had participated in the massacre. Lieutenant Kate served as the human prosecutor. She stood before the tribunal, a panel of judges from various species, all neutral parties with no connection to either humanity or, behind her, holographic displays showed evidence, combat recordings, censored data, survivor testimony. Commander Vex gave the order to fire on the spirit of liberty, Kate said, her voice calm and clear. Captain Daniel Hayes requested more time to evacuate civilians. He explained that children, elderly, and sick colonists needed additional hours to reach the escape pods safely. Commander Vex refused and opened fire. The displays showed the attack, the missiles hitting the residential section, the escape pods launching. Then the second attack, the one that destroyed fleeing civilians. The judges watched in silence. Kate continued. After disabling the spirit of liberty, Commander Vex ordered his ships to fire on escape pods, unarmed lifeboats, pods marked with civilian identification codes, pods broadcasting emergency distress signals. She paused. He deliberately targeted children. The defense claims he was following orders. I would remind the tribunal that following orders has never been an acceptable defense for war crimes. Humanity learned that lesson centuries ago. The defense attorney tried to argue. The humans were in disputed territory. The Empire had the right to defend its claim. Kate turned to face him. With what? There were no weapons on the spirit of liberty. It was a colony ship. The only threat it posed was to pride. She looked back at the judges. Commander Vex had options. He could have waited for evacuation. He could have allowed more time. He could have disabled the ship without killing everyone aboard. Instead, he chose murder, and then he celebrated it. The evidence was overwhelming. The tribunal deliberated for 6 hours. When they returned, the verdict was clear, guilty on all charges. Vex and his senior officers would spend the rest of their lives in prison. Kate watched as guards led them away. She felt no satisfaction. Justice had been served, but 847 people were still dead. Captain Hayes was still gone. Nothing would bring them back. At the Galactic Council, major changes were happening. Supreme Thane Moore had resigned in disgrace. The species who had voted to support faced questions from their own people. How could they have approved such violence? The council voted to offer humanity a permanent seat. Ambassador Stephen Blake accepted, though he made his feelings clear in his first speech. We did not want this position, Blake said, standing before the assembled species. We wanted to be left alone, to mine our asteroids, raise our children, explore the stars in peace. You forced us to reveal what we really are. You made us remember the warriors we used to be. He looked around the chamber. Now we will sit at this table, not because we want power, not because we seek to dominate, but because we will never again allow a species to be massacred while the council looks away. We will protect those who cannot protect themselves, and if that makes us your enemy, then so be it. Several species applauded. Others remained silent, uncomfortable with humanity's new status, but no one dared oppose the motion. Admiral Christopher Wells oversaw the reorganization of Earth's military. The Guardian-class ships remained active, a permanent reminder of human power. But their mission changed. Instead of conquest, they protected. Captain Clark found himself leading anti-piracy operations across the galaxy. His fleet, once built for war, now defended trade routes. Pirates who had terrorized shipping lanes for decades suddenly found themselves facing human warships. The pirates did not last long. On one mission, Clark's fleet rescued a civilian transport under attack. The ship belonged to a minor species called the... After driving off the pirates, Clark's crew helped repair the damaged vessel. The captain could not believe it. "You are the humans," the captain said, amazed. "The ones who destroyed the fleet. Why do you help us?" Clark smiled. "Because that is what we do. We protect those who need it. That is our purpose now." The captain spread word of humanity's kindness. Other species heard similar stories. The humans who had terrified the galaxy were now its guardians. The change confused many, but others understood. Humanity had always been protectors. They just needed a reason to fight. Engineer Sarah found herself working with alien scientists. They came from dozens of species, all wanting to learn human technology. Sarah shared what she could, teaching them advanced computing, better shield systems, more efficient engines. In return, she learned alien techniques for medicine, agriculture, environmental control. "We are stronger together," Sarah told a conference of scientists. "Humans have good technology because we needed it to survive our harsh world, but your species have knowledge we lack. By sharing, we all benefit." One of the scientists his name was Vex, and he had been an engineer on one of the ships that surrendered. He approached Sarah nervously after her speech. "I wanted to apologize," he said quietly. "My people did terrible things to yours. I am ashamed." Sarah studied him. "Did you personally kill anyone on the spirit of liberty?" "No, I was not there, but I share the guilt." "That is not how humanity sees it," Sarah said. "You are responsible for your own actions, not the actions of others. If you personally did nothing wrong, then you have nothing to apologize for." She offered her hand. "Would you like to work together? I could use help with a shield harmonics project." Vex took her hand, surprised by the gesture. "You would work with me after everything. We fight warriors, not entire species. You are an engineer, not a soldier, and I think we can do good work together." The collaboration between human and engineers became a symbol of the new era. If these two peoples could work together after such a brutal war, then perhaps peace was possible. Dr. Helen established medical exchange programs. She trained alien doctors in human techniques for trauma care, surgery, and emergency medicine. In return, she learned alien methods for treating diseases, healing injuries, and extending life. Her hospital became a place where any species could receive care, regardless of their past. One day, a wounded soldier arrived. He had been injured in the war, his body broken by human weapons. His own people could not heal him, but he heard that the human doctor performed miracles. He came to Helen with little hope. She examined him carefully. "I can help you," she said, "but it will take time. Months of treatment may be longer." "Why would you help me? I fought against your people." Helen looked at him. "Because you need help and I am a doctor, that is all that matters." She began the treatment. The soldier recovered slowly. During his months in the hospital, he watched Helen and her staff work. They treated everyone the same, human or alien, friend or former enemy. He saw them save lives every day, asking nothing in return except that their patients try to get better. When he finally left healed, he went back too. He told everyone what he had seen. The humans who could destroy fleets with ease also healed without hesitation. They were warriors and doctors, destroyers and builders, fierce and gentle all at once. On Earth, in the Defense Command Center, Admiral Wells received a visit from an unexpected guest. The elder and ancient being named Seeker appeared on his screens. They were old, older than any species in the Council. They had watched civilizations rise and fall for millions of years. "Admiral Wells," Seeker said, her voice carrying the weight of ages, "I come to warn you." Wells sat forward. "Warn me about what?" "Your display of force has drawn attention, not just from the Council species, but from something far more dangerous." Seeker's image shifted, showing deep space beyond the galactic rim. "There is an ancient threat dormant for 10,000 years. We call them the Devourer Swarm. They are machines built by a long-dead civilization to consume all life. My people defeated them once, but we could not destroy them. We only made them sleep. And now they are waking. Your war with the created energy surges across the galaxy. The swarm detected it. They are coming to investigate, and if they find the galaxy inhabited, they will attack." Wells felt cold. "How long do we have?" "Months, perhaps a year, not long." Seeker leaned forward. "This is why I reveal myself to you. The galaxy will need warriors to face this threat. Real warriors, not the comfortable species who have forgotten how to fight. You humans, you remember, you know war, you may be our only hope." After Seeker disconnected, Wells sat alone for a long time. Then he called President Victoria. Ma'am, we have a problem. Listen to his report. When he finished, she was quiet for a moment. So we fought became the galaxy's protectors, and now we have to fight something that even ancient species fear. Yes, ma'am. Laughed, though there was no humor in it. Of course we do, because the universe never makes things easy. She became serious. Inform the council, share what we know, and start preparing our defenses. If the swarm is coming, we'll be ready. And if the other species will not help, then we fight alone, again. Looked out her window at the stars. Humanity has survived extinction events, ice ages, wars, plagues, and our own stupidity. If some ancient machines think they can destroy us, they're about to learn what every other threat learned. We do not go quietly. Wells smiled. I'll pass that along to the fleet, ma'am. As he prepared to address the military, Wells thought about how far humanity had come. 3 months ago, they were grieving victims. Now they were the galaxy's defenders, preparing to face an enemy that gods feared. But humanity had always been stubborn. They survived when they should have died. They thrived when they should have failed. And now, when ancient horrors returned, humanity would stand and fight. Not because they were the strongest, though they were strong. Not because they were though they were clever, but because standing and fighting was what humans did. It was what made them human. In the Galactic Council, Ambassador Blake presented Seeker's warning. The chamber fell silent as holographic displays showed images of the Devourer swarm. Ancient machines, vast beyond counting, designed for one purpose: to consume. "They believe we have less than a year," Blake said. "We need to prepare, we need to unite, we need to set aside our differences and stand together." Thanemore's replacement, a younger named, spoke. "And if we cannot win?" Blake looked at him. "Then we die fighting, but humanity does not accept defeat. We have faced extinction before and survived. We will face it again." He smiled. "Besides, we have something the swarm does not expect. We have each other. Human warriors, scientists, engineers, even soldiers, all of us working together. That is our advantage." The council voted to prepare for war. Species that had been enemies weeks ago now planned together. Fleets combined. Technology shared. Scientists collaborated. The galaxy, for the first time in its history, truly united. Kate stood on the observation deck of the Vengeance, watching ships from a dozen species maneuver together. She thought about Captain Hayes. He had died trying to make peace. Now humanity was bringing species together to face a common threat. In a strange way, his dream had come true. "Do you think we can win?" a voice asked. It was Captain Clark joining her at the window. 6 months after the war, with ended, deep space monitoring stations detected them. The Devourer swarm appeared at the edge of the galaxy like a plague. Thousands of ships, each one massive and dark. They moved with purpose, consuming everything in their path. Asteroids, planets, entire star systems disappeared into their processing facilities. Admiral Christopher Wells watched the reports coming in. The swarm was not like any enemy humanity had faced. These were not living beings with emotions or politics. They were machines, ancient and efficient, built for one purpose. They harvested matter and energy. Life was just another resource to be consumed. "How long until they reach inhabited space?" Wells asked. Commander George checked the projections. "At their current speed, 3 weeks, maybe 4. They are stopping to feed on uninhabited systems first." "Then we have 3 weeks to be ready." Wells activated the emergency fleet channel. "All ships, this is Admiral Wells. The swarm is here. Defensive positions by tomorrow. We will make our stand at the barrier line." The barrier line was a string of fortified positions between swarm territory and the core worlds. It had been prepared for months, ever since Seeker warned them. Now it would be tested. Captain Clark took the Vengeance to the barrier line alongside 200 other human ships. They were joined by vessels from 30 different species. Science ships with experimental weapons. Carriers loaded with fighters. Even cruisers, their crews eager to prove themselves as allies rather than enemies. Lieutenant Kate studied the tactical displays. The swarm fleet numbered in the tens of thousands. The combined galactic fleet had maybe 5,000 ships. The numbers were not good. "We are outnumbered badly," she said to Captain Clark. "We have been outnumbered before," Clark replied. "Remember, we are not just fighting for humanity now, we fight for everyone." At the Galactic Council, emergency meetings continued around the clock. Ambassador Stephen Blake coordinated with other species, ensuring supplies reached the fleet, civilians evacuated from border worlds, and backup plans existed if the barrier line failed. Ambassador Jin approached him after one long session. "Ambassador Blake, I wanted to thank you." "For what?" "For showing us what true strength looks like. Not strength to conquer, but strength to protect. My people were ashamed when we voted to support the attack on your colony. We have been trying to make amends ever since." Blake nodded. "You are here now, that is what matters. We all stand together or we all fall together." The first contact with the swarm came 3 days before they reached the barrier line. Commander Cole led a reconnaissance squadron to observe them. What he saw chilled him to his core. The swarm ships moved like insects, swarming around planets, breaking them apart, consuming everything. They worked with mechanical precision, no wasted motion, no hesitation. When Cole's fighters were detected, the swarm responded instantly. Thousands of smaller machines launched, pursuing the human craft. Cole barely escaped. His squadron lost 3 fighters, the pilots ejected, but the swarm captured them. Cole watched helplessly as the machines took his people. He did not know if they were still alive. When he reported back, Admiral Wells listened grimly. "They adapt fast. They learn from every encounter. This will not be an easy fight." Dr. Helen prepared her medical facilities for mass casualties. She knew this battle would be worse than the war. The swarm did not take prisoners. It did not show mercy. It simply consumed. Engineer Sarah worked with alien scientists to find weaknesses in swarm technology. They studied every scan, every piece of data from Cole's encounter. The machines were advanced, yes, but they followed patterns. Patterns could be predicted, and predictions could be exploited. "I think I found something," Sarah said during one late-night session. Her team gathered around her display. "The swarm ships communicate on a specific frequency. If we can disrupt it, we might be able to slow them down." Vex, the engineer, studied her findings. It would take enormous power to jam their signals across an entire fleet. "Then we use enormous power." Sarah looked at the data. "The Guardian ships have enough energy output. We can turn them into giant jamming stations." The plan went to Admiral Wells. He approved it immediately. "Anything that gives us an edge, set it up." On the barrier line, ships took their positions. Human Guardian vessels formed the center, their massive hulls bristling with weapons. Smaller ships arranged themselves in formations designed by Kate. She had spent weeks studying swarm tactics, looking for patterns, finding weaknesses. President Victoria addressed the fleet from Earth. "We stand today not just as humans or any single species. We stand as the living galaxy against the dead machines. They believe they can consume us because we are organic, fragile, temporary. They are wrong. Life is not weakness. Life is strength. Life adapts, grows, learns, and fights back. Today we show these ancient horrors that life does not surrender. We do not go quietly into their processing plants. We stand. We fight. And we win." The swarm arrived exactly on schedule. The first wave hit the barrier line like a tsunami. Thousands of machines, each one the size of a battleship, crashed against the defensive positions. The combined fleet opened fire. Human rail guns tore through swarm hulls. Plasma lances melted armor. Guardian ships activated their point singularity weapons, creating tiny black holes that swallowed entire machines. The unveiled sonic weapons that shattered swarm ships with resonance frequencies. Fighters swarmed like angry insects, hitting weak points with precision strikes. But the swarm did not stop. For every ship destroyed, 2 more appeared. They learned from every attack, adapting their shields, changing their tactics. The machines that survived human weapons the first time resisted them the second time. Kate saw the pattern. "Captain, they are evolving in real time. They are learning faster than we can adjust." "Then we need to change tactics faster." Clark opened a fleet channel. "All ships' random attack patterns. Do not repeat the same maneuver twice. Keep them guessing." The fleet shifted to chaos doctrine. Ships attacked from unexpected angles, used different weapons each time, and never stayed in one place. It worked. The swarm struggled to adapt to randomness. Sarah activated the jamming plan. The Guardian ships began broadcasting interference across the frequencies the swarm used to communicate. The effect was immediate. Swarm ships lost coordination. They bumped into each other. Their formations broke apart. But the swarm adapted to that too. Within an hour, they switched to different frequencies. Sarah and her team raced to keep up, constantly changing their jamming signals. The battle raged for 3 days. Ships from both sides filled the void with debris. The combined fleet lost hundreds of vessels. Thousands of crew members died. Medical ships like doctors overflowed with wounded. Helen worked without sleep, treating injuries, saving lives where she could. She treated humans and aliens side by side. In her medical bay, a wounded human soldier lay next to a injured, next to a hurt. They all bled. They all needed help. She gave it. On the third day, the swarm changed tactics. Instead of attacking the entire line, they concentrated their forces on one point. A weak section held by ships. They fought bravely, but they were overwhelmed. Captain Clark saw the danger. If they break through there, they will flank the entire line. We need reinforcements. There are no reinforcements, Kate said. Every ship is already engaged. Then we go ourselves. Clark ordered the Vengeance forward. All ships in Strike Group 7 follow me. We are plugging that hole. The Vengeance and 20 other human ships charged into the breach. They hit the swarm from the side, catching them by surprise. Rail guns fired at point-blank range. Plasma lances burned through multiple targets. The human ships fought like cornered wolves, desperate and fierce. The swarm recognized the threat. Thousands of machines turned toward the human strike group. They swarmed the Vengeance, overwhelming its shields. The ship shuddered as weapons fire struck its hull. Shields down to 20%, Kate reported. Hull breaches on multiple decks. Clark kept his voice steady. All power to forward weapons. If we are going down, we are taking as many of them with us as possible. But then they returned. The same ships that had been pushed back. They came back, their formation renewed, their determination fierce. They hit the swarm from behind, giving the human ships breathing room. The commander broadcast on all channels. You came to save us, now we save you. This is what allies do. Together, human and ships held the line. The swarm could not break through. Their concentrated attack failed. Admiral Wells watched from his command ship. The barrier line was holding, but barely. They had been fighting for 3 days, and the swarm showed no signs of slowing. His fleet was exhausted. Ammunition was running low. Ships were damaged. Morale was cracking. Then Seeker contacted him. The Ancient appeared on his screen, her expression urgent. Admiral, I have information. The swarm has a central processing node, a command ship that coordinates their entire fleet. My people discovered it 10,000 years ago, but we could never reach it through their defenses. Where is it? Behind their lines, deep in their fleet. If you can destroy it, the swarm will lose coordination. They will not stop entirely, but they will be confused, vulnerable. Wells studied the tactical map. The command ship was surrounded by thousands of swarm vessels. Reaching it would be suicide, but if they did not try, they would lose anyway. I need volunteers, Wells said. A strike team, small, fast ships. We go through their lines, hit the command node, and get out. Captain Foster of the Guardian ship Eternal Vigil volunteered immediately. My ship can take the punishment. I will lead the strike. I am going too, Clark said from the Vengeance. My crew knows how to fight when outnumbered. Kate looked at her captain. Sir, the Vengeance is damaged. We cannot make that run. Then we repair what we can and hope it is enough. Clark looked at his crew. Anyone who wants to stay behind, I understand. This is a volunteer mission. Not one person left the bridge. They all stayed. The strike team assembled. 20 ships, including 3 Guardian vessels. They were the best of the best, veterans of a dozen battles. They knew this might be a one-way trip. They went anyway. The strike team launched. They cut through swarm lines like a knife, moving too fast for the machines to coordinate a response. Guardian ships led the way, their massive weapons clearing a path. Smaller vessels followed, protecting the flanks. Swarm ships swarmed them. The strike team took losses. 2 ships exploded. 3 more fell behind, too damaged to continue, but the rest pushed forward. Kate coordinated the attack from her tactical station. She calculated firing solutions, predicted swarm movements, and found gaps in their formations. Her mind worked at incredible speed, processing more data than should be humanly possible. But she was not just a human anymore. She was a warrior fighting for her species' survival. The command node appeared ahead. It was massive, a ship the size of a small moon. Weapons covered every surface. Thousands of swarm vessels surrounded it. All ships attack Pattern Omega, Captain Foster ordered. Hit it with everything we have. The Guardian ships fired their point singularity cannons. The beams tore into the command node's shields. They held for a moment, then collapsed. The Vengeance and other ships followed up with rail guns and plasma lances, cutting deep into the node's structure. The swarm reacted. Every ship nearby turned toward the strike team. The small fleet found itself surrounded, fighting for their lives. "We are not going to make it out," Kate said quietly. Clark nodded, "but we will finish the mission first." He opened a channel to the other ships. "All vessels, concentrate fire on the command node. Ignore the other ships. We complete the mission or we die trying." The strike team poured everything into the command node. Weapons fire from 20 directions hit it simultaneously. Its armor cracked, its systems failed, and then it exploded. The blast wave caught several strike team ships, throwing them aside. The Vengeance's engines failed. They drifted, surrounded by swarm vessels. Then something amazing happened. The swarm stopped. Their ships froze in place, no longer moving in coordination. They had lost their central command. They were still dangerous, still active, but they were no longer organized. Admiral Wells saw the opportunity. "All ships full attack, hit them while they are confused." The combined fleet surged forward. They tore into the disorganized swarm, destroying ships by the hundreds. Without coordination, the machines could not adapt fast enough. They fell like wheat before a scythe. Captain Foster maneuvered her Guardian ship close to the drifting Vengeance. "Clark, we have you," activating tractor beam. The Eternal Vigil grabbed the damaged ship and pulled it to safety. Around them, the battle turned. The swarm was losing. Not quickly, not easily, but definitely losing. 3 more days of fighting cleared the swarm from the sector. The machines retreated, pulling back to regroup. The barrier line held. The galaxy was safe, at least for now. The cost was terrible. 2,000 ships destroyed. Tens of thousands of crew members dead. Entire worlds damaged by swarm attacks, but they had won. Kate walked through the damaged corridors of the Vengeance. Around her, crew members repaired systems, treated wounded, and tried to process what they had survived. She found Captain Clark on the bridge, staring at the... "We did it," she said. "We did," Clark agreed. "But this is not over. The swarm will rebuild. They will come back. Then we will be ready again." Kate looked at the stars. "We are not alone anymore. The galaxy stands together now. That is our strength." On Earth, President addressed the world. "We have faced an ancient evil and survived, not through strength alone, but through unity. Humans, dozens of species standing together. This is our future, not as separate peoples, but as one galactic community." In the Galactic Council, Ambassador Blake proposed a new charter, a true alliance binding all species together for mutual defense. Every species agreed. The Council was no longer just a debating chamber. It was now a military alliance with humanity at its core. Admiral Wells met privately with Seeker. The Ancient looked pleased. "You did well, Admiral. My people are impressed." "Are you going to tell me the rest of the truth now?" Wells asked. "About why you really seeded Earth with life?" Seeker smiled. "You figured it out. It was not hard. You created death worlds across the galaxy, hoping one would produce a species capable of fighting the swarm. Earth was one of many experiments. Yes, and only Earth succeeded. The others either died out or became peaceful species that forgot how to fight. But you humans, you were perfect. You survived every disaster Earth threw at you. You learned to fight every predator, every disease, every challenge. And most importantly, you learned to choose mercy after knowing violence. So we were designed to be weapons. You were designed to be survivors. You chose to be protectors. That choice makes you valuable beyond measure." Seeker leaned forward. "The swarm will return, probably in my lifetime, certainly in yours. But now the galaxy has you. Warriors who fight not for conquest, but for protection. That is why even gods fear you, not because of your weapons, but because of your purpose." Wells considered this. What if we refuse? What if we decide we do not want to be the galaxy's soldiers? Then the galaxy falls, and eventually so does Earth. Seeker's expression turned serious. "But I do not think you will refuse. It is not in your nature. You stood between the swarm and innocent species because that is what humans do. You protect those who cannot protect themselves. It is your gift and your burden." After Seeker left, Wells sat alone with his thoughts. She was right. Humanity would not refuse. They would stand and fight again and again for as long as necessary, because that was what made them human. Kate received a promotion, commander now in charge of the entire tactical division. She stood in her new office looking at a picture of Captain Daniel Hayes, the captain who died trying to make peace, the captain who started everything. "We honored your memory, sir," she said to the picture. "We showed them that humanity fights for justice, not revenge. We became what you hoped we could be." On the repaired Vengeance, Captain Clark prepared for the next mission. The ship would lead a task force to hunt remaining swarm vessels, ensuring they did not threaten inhabited worlds. It was dangerous work. It was necessary work. It was human work. Dr. Helen opened a new hospital. This one would train doctors from all species in the latest techniques. She believed that healing was as important as fighting, maybe more important. Engineer Sarah continued her collaboration with alien scientists. Together, they developed new technologies, combining the best of every species. Humanity's strength, wisdom, creativity, even efficiency, all working together. In the end, the Empire had started a war with humanity. They thought humans were prey. They were wrong. Humans were predators who chose peace, and when forced to fight, they did so with a ferocity that terrified the galaxy. But they also showed mercy. They also healed. They also protected. They were warriors and doctors, destroyers and builders, fierce and gentle. They were survivors from a death world who chose to be guardians of life. The swarm would return. Other threats would emerge. The galaxy would face new dangers, but now it had humanity. And humanity had learned its true purpose, not to conquer, not to dominate, but to stand between the darkness and the light, between the hunters and the hunted, between chaos and order. They were the children of Earth. They had survived when they should have died. They had thrived when they should have failed, and now, when ancient horrors returned, they would stand and fight. Not because they were the strongest, though they were strong. Not because they were though they were clever, but because standing and fighting was what humans did. It was what made them human. It was what made gods learn to fear. And it was what would save the galaxy again and again for as long as humanity endured. The war had ended, but the duty remained. Humanity would carry that duty with honor, with courage, and with the mercy that separated them from the monsters they fought. The galaxy had awakened something it feared, but it had also gained something it needed: protectors, guardians, warriors who fought not for themselves but for everyone. And in the end, that made all the difference. "I do not know," Kate admitted, "but I know we will try, and that is what matters." "Hayes would be proud of you, of all of us." Kate nodded. "I hope so, sir, I really hope so." Outside, the combined fleet grew larger every day. Humanity's guardian ship stood alongside science vessels, carriers, and even reformed cruisers. The galaxy was ready. The swarm was coming. And humanity remembered what it meant to fight. They want the Empire to withdraw from human space. They want reparations for the spirit of liberty victims. They want war crimes trials for those who ordered the massacre. And they want the military reduced to defensive forces only. And if refuses, Jin looked at him, then humanity will demonstrate what they can really do, and based on what we just witnessed, I do not think any force in this galaxy could stop them. The council fell silent. They had awakened something terrible, and now they would have to live with the consequences. The order went out. Across space, ships prepared for war. The greatest fleet in their history gathered, ready to crush humanity once and for all. But they did not know what was waiting for them. They did not know about the Guardian-class vessels, still hidden in deep space. They did not know that humanity had been holding back, testing capabilities. And they were about to learn that when humanity truly goes to war, the galaxy itself trembles. Kate saluted. As Wells left, she looked back at the stars. Somewhere out there, they were celebrating their victory. They thought they had won. They had no idea the war had just begun.